Apply, stop in at 149 Water Tank Road in Statesville or go online to mac.com.
In today's world, the most important thing you can give your child is a strong Christian foundation.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their
racing roots.
Sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, as well as DHammiam on the YouTubes. I was going to try streaming on live on Facebook again today, but they were having all kinds of issues. And maybe it's because of the results of the Talladega race today. Who knows? But if you're a first-time listener, thanks so much for tuning in. We do this every Monday evening at 7 o'clock. And I'm joined by my buddy here, Phil Cavalli, also known as Photo Phil.
There you go. Did you say first-time listeners, like first-time winners all weekend long?
Yeah. That's kind of what it was in my head too. So
Yeah.
I'd also got my son over here, Tyler, sporting the old classic Sterling Marlin hat. Where'd you get that hat,
Hey,
son?
how's it going?
Little
I got
trucker
this hat from my dad.
Oh,
I've got a collection of about maybe 5 or 6 hats, I think, from back whenever he was doing the racing stuff. I know I've got like, I think 4 or 5 Coors hats, and then one of them's it's from a racetrack. I can't remember.
probably Bell South and Phoenix.
No, it's Phoenix.
The 500.
It's got a red and black.
A win?
Red with
I
the
think he
black.
borrowed that
the
one.
Phoenix hat from 96 or something like that.
I think he borrowed that hat from me
Oh, okay.
at some point. Is that better, Phil?
Yeah, that's better.
All right, had to turn your headphones up a little bit. So I hope y'all had a great day. It's been one of those kind of dreary off and on days, but
Yeah, because that's kind of what happened with the Cup race yesterday. They got delayed because of weather and
everything we can lead
moved.
right into that Cup race today.
That makes for a
Yeah,
long.
I
It
mean,
makes for a long day at the track too. When you get a weather delay.
You know, it was pretty exciting. I mean, I didn't get to really watch it. I was napping at the time.
Yeah. Oh, I don't
woke
blame
up-
you.
Yeah, I woke up right when the caution had come out, and Bubba Wallace won the race today, another first-time winner. So we had Tate Fogelman winning the race Friday with the Truck Series.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Saturday. They ran
Okay.
a doubleheader down there Saturday.
Yeah. And then that
And
Brown.
Brandon Brown, yeah.
How about that? 3-time first-time winners.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say. I'm not necessarily making history. We were talking about that a little bit about that earlier. Because you're going to be seeing that. You're going to hear a lot about it too, of course.
Yeah, we just made history by announcing that. So
Yeah.
that's history.
Yeah, that's all. It's all good. So, there's Brett Troutman here he lives in Statesville, but it's almost towards Troutman, and Tom Straymeyer and Rachel Rodman down in Charlotte, Phil Cavalli right here in front of me, Super Jason. I'm not sure where Jason's from. Tell us on our comments here. Dickie Dennis up in Virginia, and there's a couple of different Dickie Dennises on here, but that's okay.
James Dennis.
He's incognito today. Very good.
Tom Strawmeyer, has he been on here before?
I've seen him before, yes.
Okay.
That's why I don't remember exactly where he's from. But so what I put together today, I actually put together a replay video of Doug Yates when he was on the show, because I thought it was such a great show. He told so many good stories, and of course it's always great to hear about his dad,
I
Robert
watched that
Yates.
show. That was a good show.
Yeah, so what I did was I split it up and put it to where we could have different segments, but then I did not have a flash drive big enough once I got here to put it in the computer, so I ended up having to download it off the computer, pop it into OBS, and we're going to watch it from there. But we're also going to talk about some of the things that happened at Talladega today. We're going to talk about my son growing up in NASCAR, because from the time he was born, I was already working in NASCAR. He was born in 95. And we were living in Charlotte at a little duplex down there off of South Boulevard, and I was working at Savco, which was up off of North Tryon. you remember that shop, Phil?
Yep, sure do.
That was right beside Bechtel Racing.
Yeah,
at least
Bechtel.
Yeah,
Gary and Carolyn and Gary, they were good people.
There you go. And did they have something to do with Bay Hackroll Communications? I think it was.
They had something to do with
Cartoon Network.
He had a
I
big company, a worldwide company, Bechtel.
Yes.
I can't remember if it was in communication or construction, but his company was in the war somehow.
Yeah.
Almost like,
Okay. Yeah, but that shop was it was set up kind of unique. When I started working at Sabco, I was actually in the machine shop, which was right next to it, but it was in the same parking lot, and it was called Hess Performance Machine. And when I first went in there, he was like, "You just remember, we're separate from that race team, that race shop over there." So, of course, I couldn't stay away from the race cars. It took me about a day. I walked over there, and then the next thing you know, I got me an application, or not, what do you call them, to go to the racetrack. So I was
registering.
Something like that, to get a license.
SEL,
That's it.
single event license.
Yeah. So I was signing up to get my license, and I was ready to go to the track. And I was honing some lifter bores one day, and the machine's over there running. And when you go from a drill to a hone, you have to slow it down quite a bit. And I was filling out my SEL, and I didn't slow down the speed on the mill. And so it was like, okay, I done screwed up. I'm doing something he didn't want me to do to start with, and then I'm messing up with the machine. And so I think Kyle Penny ended up winning that race with that engine, but so it doesn't matter. He won Dover that year.
Now we know why.
That's
95.
Right. Loosened it up a little bit.
95.
It was 1995, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that was good stuff right there. The Coors Light car, the very first year we had it. So,
do you remember that, Junior?
Nah, I was born in '95, so I don't remember a whole lot until maybe about '99. The earliest thing I remember in NASCAR, I do remember going to the shop, and seeing the cars and stuff like that. And I remember I used to always like Jeff Gordon. The older I got, I didn't really I don't mind. I still think he's a good driver, but the older I got, I started rooting for who, my dad worked for. But when I was young, I always liked Jeff Gordon. He was like the coming up, thing.
You think Jeff is still a good driver?
Oh,
have you seen some of those commercials with that when he picks that guy up in the cab? Was it? Remember that a couple of years ago? He had that Pepsi deal where he took the guy for the ride that didn't know.
Yep. Yeah, I think he had a good career. As far as everything goes.
Oh, he's a class act. Jeff was
doing
great,
the announcing and everything. Now and all that stuff. I think he really knows NASCAR. So. But like I said, the older I got, I started kind of liking other drivers that my dad would work for, like Ward Burton and then Elliott Sadler. I always liked the M&M car. I love peanut M&Ms. And then my dad started working for them. I was thinking, now I'll be able to get a lifetime supply of peanut M&Ms. That was my main thought.
Yeah.
They got to be in the trunk of that car, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so through the years, of course, I worked for many, many drivers, and we had not as many at Bill Davis. We had, several at Sabco, and we always kind of went back and forth through drivers. And then when I got to building engines for Fords, that's whenever we started having a whole lot of drivers and a lot of good ones.
Yep. Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle.
Yeah.
Oh, Dale Jarrett, when you first started, Dale Jarrett was there. That was a cool driver,
You're right.
We had that Pinewood Derby car. It had the exact decals as the UPS car.
Yeah.
Just like the 88. That was cool.
Yeah. So whenever we're listening to this we're listening to Doug Yates on the show, I talk a little bit about that, and I kind of skipped over that part when I did my editing, but since we're watching the full video, we're going to be seeing that. I was talking about how Ernie Irvin he was in there doing his little car with Jared, and the thing was going down the track, a little slot track, like scattering back and forth really fast. It wasn't doing very good. So
did you say, Ernie, hand it over here?
Mom was through the church, and everybody would ask me, "What do you do, man? What do you what's the secret? And I'm like, I can't really tell you what the secret is. It's just not,
It's a 3-letter word, Dad.
Yeah. I said, my dad does most of it. I know what goes on, but I can't really, tell you what.
Yeah.
My dad used to do that. I finished third in the regionals and second in my troop.
Oh yeah,
we won the state. We won the whole state championship.
I'm not done bragging about 1972 yet.
We won the state championship one year, and then we didn't get to ever do the nationals. They had like a nationals thing or something.
Yeah.
We never got to compete. Like the year we won it, they didn't have nationals. That was just state. That's it.
Yeah. Then
the next year it was like a nationals thing or something. But
yeah, it was kind of funny though. But But I mean, as far as the whole
Yeah.
Ernie story.
Ernie, yeah.
He'll still remind me to this day, hey, why didn't you help me?
I think you showed me some of his Pinewood Derbies, didn't you? We had talked about that before.
We had a Bel Air that we did, and we never even got to race it.
I've got them all.
Yeah, we never got to race the Bel Air.
Mine too, yeah.
All right, so if y'all have any questions right quick or any comments, and then we're going to roll into this video, we're going to show, as I mentioned, Doug Yates. It's been about a year ago since he was on here, because in the video I mentioned that it's been 2 years since I started the show, and now it's been 3. So there's Jody Brooke tuned in, and you said hey to her already? Okay.
Yep, she's up there in the 14456. That's my next door neighbor town, Geneva, New York.
Oh, there you go. All right, so y'all enjoy the show, and we'll be right back. We're just going to cut it up into segments. We'll come back and comment, and so here you go. Yes. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the Racing Roots with Hamm, and I'm super excited today. Probably more excited than I've ever been in the life of my video taking and such. Thanks, Phil. Anyway, we got Phil Cavalli over here, and we got Doug Yates to my right, and it's been about 2 years in the making to get Doug on here, and it wasn't his fault, because I'm sure if I would have asked him sooner, he probably would have came up. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait till I got everything rolling, everything works, everything's almost perfect, and I want Doug to be impressed when he comes in. But I want things to be right for you. But I'm super glad to have you.
Oh, Dave, thank you, and thank Phil for having me on tonight. And it's usually, I'm not used to this, Dave, because we worked together for a long time.
Yes.
And usually I was asking you questions,
Yeah.
and now you get to flip the script tonight.
Right.
And
Yes.
Here we go. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, it's a little different for me too. But because now it's like we can be kind of joke around and that kind of stuff. Which we joked around for many years. We were together 16 years. And there was always lots of laughs and lots of jokes and lots of this right here, So I did that for
a lot of birthday celebrations, right?
Yes.
We'd always have a monthly birthday celebration, and Dave would come up and sing or play his harmonica.
So you were talking about Whitney earlier, and I was playing harmonica one time, and she's like, "Who did that?" And then so I stepped up, and then she's like, she had to record it on her phone, But since then I do still play happy birthdays, but I do it here on the radio every morning whenever we have our birthdays at 7:10. And we'll tell everybody happy birthday, and then I'll play that at the end. So I still get to carry that tradition on, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe someday I could be a special guest and come down to Roush Yates and do a break time birthday celebration.
Well, that would be excellent. We'd love to have you back. Obviously, your
you.
family, Roush Yates is a special place, as you know, and
Yes.
so is Robert Yates Racing. And love you for wearing that shirt tonight.
Yeah, man.
Brings back lots of memories of back in the day with my dad and Robert Yates Racing, all the great times we had.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell a story about this shirt, or these shirts. That I still have all of them, including one special one, but I'll tell you about that in a minute, because I don't want to forget to thank our sponsor, Jersey Cape Yachts. And Phil's got the special introduction.
Phil?
Yeah, that's our sponsor, Jersey Cape Yachts. When you need to flatten the curve during COVID, there's nowhere more flat than on the water aboard a Jersey Cape yacht.
You almost feel like you're out on the water, just kind of relaxed, maybe drinking a beer, chilling. But yeah, Jersey Cape Yachts is in New Jersey, but they deliver anywhere. I'd say they deliver anywhere worldwide. So if you got a boat you want out on Lake Norman, give them a call, 609-335-6449. That's right. We're representing with our sweatshirts tonight, the Jersey Cape Yachts. And you can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel as well. So, and we'll go over some more of that stuff here in just a bit. All right, so back to this shirt. So I still have the shirt that's covered with oil, because one time you come in and worked with me, well, many times, but this one particular time, you came in and worked with me in the engine room there in the restrictor plate room. And somehow, I don't remember exactly what happened, but somehow I ended up getting splashed.
Yeah, we got ahead of ourselves, I imagine, and probably pulled the oil lines off and
Yes.
turned the overs.
turn the engine over.
Yeah, sorry about that, buddy.
Yes, that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth more than it was then, I guess you could say, because now I have a story to go with it. Like this one, I can just say, well, I'll wear this to work. It's a great shirt though.
I did that earlier this year. Through COVID, we were really hustling, trying to get engines turned around. I mean, we would race on Wednesday night and have to have the engines back to the teams on Monday.
Right.
And so I was in there helping Jeremy Anderson, and we got a little out of sequence. I pulled the oil lines off and turned the engine over and just got him really good. So that happens every once in a while. When Gary Flattery was there, it happened a lot more.
Oh, yes. Flat Daddy. About once a week, he would splatter oil on the top of the dyno cell. So we had a lot of good times. You have to laugh at yourself. And we had a good time. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And then, so, we take the oil lines off, and let's say we started taking some of the rockers off, and then the engine, you're going to let it rotate over all the way around.
So that thing will spin. And
yes. And I've shot oil probably 15 feet in that direction, hits the wall, and it's like, okay, not only was I in a hurry, but now I have to take the time to clean that mess up,
Oh, yeah. That's always a good one for the NASCAR officials, too. And I never did that on purpose, but I did get Gene Saunders one time, and he was such a great guy. He passed away several years ago. So you remember when he came and brought up his Volkswagen engine up, and we helped him out with that after he was retired from being on the road there. But, good times, and you got to have fun doing this. You make some great friends in NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR has been part of my family forever, and just all the people that we met and hung out with, and the memories that we had, and the races we won, and I mean, it's funny you talk about the stories like that even more than the races. It's the birthday celebrations we had, and you sang in the break room, or the chicken biscuits we get after we win a race, or the Thanksgiving celebrations we would have where everybody bring a potluck dinner. Yeah. And traditions are really special to me and our family and everybody at Roush Yates, and I'm glad that you're a part of that, and I'm really glad to be here tonight. This is cool.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you, man. It's like being one big family, it's like, and we've had people that have left Roush Yates, like Gary Flattery when he went up to the Ozarks, and he's comes back to visit, and we still keep in touch, and Rookie and a bunch of different people. We had Thomas on here last week. You remember Thomas? He's changing tires for the 22.
Oh, yeah.
And, he tunes in to us sometimes. And Beer Man, Scott Trevison's down there in Daytona. He says, Jersey Cape yachts rock. And so Scott's got his own boat, and he's hanging out down in Florida here a lot lately. So
he's doing well.
Yes, he is doing well. And and I still keep up with my buddy Chris England, of course. We were texting today, and he was headed up to the church, so he was going to tune into this probably tomorrow.
Yeah, Chris is a great guy. I mean, he came to work for us a long time ago, tearing down engines like most people start, and now he's assembling engines like you were, and I'm so proud of him. And he just does whatever it takes. He can build engines one day, and the next day he's over at the machine shop doing things over there. He's just a super guy. And,
oh yeah, Chris is great.
Yeah,
him and Nick Ramey too, of course. I saw your picture with Nick in the polished chrome car, GT40. What was that?
Yeah, so it's a 50th anniversary Shelby GT. Yeah, it's polished aluminum, but it's a Cobra. And it's really cool. And you were trying to do something for Nick. Nick's been with us for 28 years. Yeah. So to celebrate that, we kind of did something fun. Said we've been riding together for 28 years. But Nick came to work for us. My dad, we used to build the engines. He would put the crank in, rods and pistons, and he'd pass it to me, and I would do the cam up or heads on and up. And my dad got busy with the race team, and so. I would find the engine sitting there not ready. So it's like, Dad, we need some help here. So we hired Nick. Nick was working for Richard Petty. He finished his last race with Richard, the last race in 1992, when that was Richard's final race. Alan Kwiecki won the championship, and I saw Alan's birthday today, I think, and remembering him and Davey, we had a shot to win the championship that day. But after that race, after Richard retired, Nick came to work for us and has been there ever since. Has done a great job. And I think he counts. I don't count because I don't count wins very much, and definitely don't count how many engines we build or dyno.
Oh gosh!
But Nick said he's built over 8,000 engines. So
somehow he knew that, right?
He did know that.
That's a lot of fingers and toes. I can't believe I asked what kind of car that was, because I know I saw Tracy's dad there, Ken Thompson, yesterday, and he said, he's like, did Doug buy him a Cobra? Or does Doug have a Cobra or something like that? And I said, you know what? I don't know. I saw the picture, though, with him and Nick in there, but I didn't know if that was yours. Or I said, sometimes people let him borrow cars.
Yeah. Finally, I wanted that car forever, and I finally I have a friend, Bill DeBesty. He lives in California. He has a collection. He was Carroll Shelby's buddy, really good friends. And we build the engines for those cars. So David Bullock actually built that engine at our shop.
Okay.
And it's 496 cubic inches, 700 foot-pounds of torque, 700 horsepower.
Wow.
And it was in the car. Bill kept it for me. So finally I said, all right, I'm ready for that car. And it's sitting in our showroom. But Kenny Thompson, great guy.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, the craftsmen, could build anything. And he built our first set of headers, or my first set of headers, when I started working for my dad in 1990.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he built headers for me and my dad, and we won a lot of races together with Kenny's headers.
Yeah, I'm actually putting together another video of that drag car that he built with the two Chevrolet SB2 engines, and they were turned like on 45 degrees. And he built the headers go from one, I don't know, it's just weird. He built the oil pan. They both share the same oil pan. The way he did it's pretty amazing. I'll send you the link whenever I get that video together. I probably showed you the video, I'm pretty sure. But he ended up selling that car.
Oh, yeah. That was an awesome car.
Yeah.
Guys like Kenny Thompson, Leonard Wood, those guys are just unbelievable. Some of the smartest guys I've ever worked around. Leonard is actually building by hand with a Bridgeport and a lathe, a replica 427 race engine. It's amazing. You should I'll send you the pictures. Lynn's been sending me pictures. I mean, he's built the manifold heads, the whole 9 yards, and that's what he's been doing through COVID to stay busy. I'm just going to build a replica 427. Sure. And what an amazing guy. I mean, talk about
he is
one of my heroes, a guy who he could build the engine, he could set up the car, he could change the tires, he could invent the modern day pit stop. I mean, Leonard, Glenn, Eddie, Lynn,
smart as a whip.
Those guys, I mean, they've been in NASCAR for 70 years, and that family is just amazing. And it's cool. I mean, that's the kind of people you meet in racing.
Last time I was talking to him, it was pretty much right before I left, and he was telling me about he built this lawnmower, and he had a remote control for it or something. And he was out there controlling it with this remote. And I was like, really?
Oh, yeah. No, he's a mechanical genius. I mean, one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with, and got to work with him through our relationship with Ford Motor Company and Edsel Ford and the whole family. That was our bond and common bond. And we got to race against each other and with each other. And, when they first got my dad's heads that he and his team did, the C3 Ford head that we worked on a lot of.
Yep.
When they won that race with their third race out, Dale Jarrett beat Davey Allison at Michigan. I'll never forget how mad Larry McReynolds was, because those were our cylinder heads on that car.
That's right. Yes.
But it was a good relationship. We've shared a lot of good memories with the Wood brothers.
Yeah, for sure. I love that whenever they joined with the Ford, whenever we started helping them out, and I started getting around those guys, because I was like, I've been watching them since, David Pearson was my first favorite driver in NASCAR. Yeah. It was mainly because he had the same first name as me. I was that young, probably 5 or 6 years old. And so,
and he was pretty good.
Wow, getting around them. Of course.
Best,
that was
one of the best drivers we've ever seen.
And that was the thing too. And I had Donnie Ellison in a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned, all right, so we were talking about David Pearson and Richard Petty, and I said, well, actually, David Pearson has the better percentage record on the amount of races, because he didn't run the full-time schedule. It was wins to the amount of races. And then Donnie said, well, mine was even better. He's like, I won 10 races to the So that was kind of like that. But it was,
you know what I love about, great race car drivers are the most competitive people in the world.
Yes.
And they will never give you an inch, right?
Yeah.
Even on their opinions.
Exactly.
That's right.
Donnie Allison, Bobby Allison, Ernie Irvin, they want to win at everything. And that's what you love about them. And they'll never, that's just who they are.
Right.
It's their most competitive people in the world. And that's what makes them great.
I guarantee you, if I get... All right, so we're back at Racing Roots with Hamm. You're listening to Doug Yates on Racing Roots with Hamm. We're actually doing a replay this evening. It was from about a year ago, because I'm pretty sure Doug was down in Talladega today. But unfortunately, they did not win the race, because, as we heard earlier, Phil was telling us that Bubba Wallace won. And we had 3 first-time winners this weekend.
Yeah, sure did. All 3 series ran at Talladega, and we had 3 different winners. We had, for the truck series, we had Tate Fogelman, Brandon Brown for the Xfinity Series, and then Bubba Wallace for the Cup Series.
Yeah, how about that? So we had, let's see, Jim Dooley joined us from up in Virginia, and also my buddy Big Mark Nichols. He's a tuner. I guess he's tuning for, Logano right now. He also tuned in, and CJ Hager's out there as well, listening on the radio. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
Could you get excited about $1?
$1 makes me holler, honey boo boo.
Well, perhaps not that.
Falling temperatures, falling leaves. How about falling prices? Falling prices at Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville. How about this for a falling price? 2020 Malibus. These are nearly new. I was at $16,990, but how about let's fall to $15,990. $15,990. I bought over 100 of these. You picked a color. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville. We've got them on the lot. Come see them today.
All right, we're back on Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, and DHammiam on YouTube. So if you want to see us live here in the Randy Marion studio, go to DHammiam on YouTube and go on there and ask us comments or ask us questions and leave your comments and that type of stuff. So we were talking earlier about some of the, who won the race earlier today. And also we had a death in the NASCAR world. John West
Townley. Yeah, John West Townley.
31, right?
Yeah, I believe he passed 2 days ago in some tragic shooting, he and his girlfriend.
Yeah, so I remember him from whenever he was in it's a couple years ago, I think, since he won. It's been a few years ago.
It was Vegas. It was October 3rd, 2015.
Okay. Oh, well, that's been a while ago. Yeah. And then the other thing was that I remember, wasn't he in some type of fight on the track?
Yeah,
somebody
he
else.
got in a fight with it wasn't Cole Custer, it was I can't remember.
That's fine. It was a truck series, I do believe, so yeah.
It was funny because it was it was almost like in hockey, they'll let you fight when the players throw their gloves down, they start fighting. The refs will let them fight as long as they're standing on their skates, but once they hit the ice, the refs break it up. Yeah. And that's how I can't remember who he had the fight with, but that's how it was. They were kind of wrestling in the air. And
okay.
It was just.
That's what it looked like. It wasn't much of a fight. It was just sort of a little, not much so anyway. Yes.
Fight for the win.
Yeah, fight to the win. All right, so if I'm going to replay this video, this Doug Yates on here, I'll find the exact date, but it was about a year ago. And so, but I'm enjoying re-listening to these stories again. And if you see me kind of fast forward through just a little bit, I mean, it is an hour and 45 minutes long. So I had sat down earlier today and cut through it and cut out a lot of the stuff that was, filler type stuff. And then when I got here to put it on my flash drive, there wasn't enough memory on it. So that didn't work out too good. So lesson learned for me to be more prepared next time. All right, so we're going to get back to the show. Doug Yates here on Racing Roots with Hamm. Enjoy it. Yes. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the Racing Roots with Hamm. And I'm super excited today, probably more excited than I've ever been in the life of my video taking and such. Thanks, Phil. Anyway, we got Phil Cavalli over here, and we got Doug Yates to my right. And so
is on Saturdays. Every Saturday morning, Flossie, their house was right there. Always see his posts on Twitter. He's a great follower and a great supporter of
their story.
Rachel wanted to know what it was like growing up with your dad as a young boy. you being around racing?
It's I tell people all the time, the best part about NASCAR is it brought me and my dad together. It gave us an opportunity to work together, and it started young. When my dad worked at Holman & Moody here in Charlotte, late 60s, and I learned a lot, worked with great guys like Waddell Wilson, Wood Brothers, User Engines, Junior Johnson. He built Leroy Yarborough's Daytona 500 winning engine, and Junior Johnson recognized my dad back then. He started building a reputation. And so when Ford stepped out of NASCAR for a little while, Junior said, hey, come run my engine shop. We're going to run Chevrolets. And basically took a school bus engine and made it a race engine. Set on the very first pole with that engine at Charlotte Motor Speedway with Charlie Glotzback in 1970. And then after that, Bobby Allison came to drive for Junior Johnson in 1972. And I was a little kid, about 5 years old, and we moved from Charlotte, where we were born and raised there, and moved to North Wilkesboro. Back then, 77 didn't even run all the way to North Wilkesboro. And so lived in North Wilkesboro about 2 miles from the shop, and my dad would come home and eat dinner and then go back to work. So he would do all his machine work during the day, and then at night he'd put his engines together, and he said, hey, if you want to come back, come to work with me. So I go, and he'd let me sort nuts and bolts and hang out. And I never forget, there was a cot there because he'd spend the night there on the shop floor. So I would spend the night there with him and hang out with him. And then the coolest part is, in the middle of the night, Junior would come through. He would be out coon hunting. And my dad would tell me a story. He said, I was so exhausted. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, Junior would come by, and he'd pat me on the back and said, boy, we're going to go win this race. And my dad said, man, he would catch another gear. He's like, all right, adrenaline would start flowing, and he'd get his engines done, and they'd go the track. And so I remember that. And one of the coolest things is on Saturdays, every Saturday morning, Flossie, their house was right there next to the shop and right in front of the race shop. And Flossie would cook breakfast for us, country ham, biscuits, sawmill, all that stuff. And she would cook breakfast for me and my sister and anybody else that wanted to come, all the guys, Shorty Edwards, Henry Benfield, all those guys, all those famous guys that had been around forever. And that was my first memories. But that year in 1972 with Bobby Allison, they won 12 races. They won 10 races, finished second 12 times. And as my dad would tell, it blew up the rest of them and finished second the championship to Richard Petty. But that was really his first big breakthrough. And those are my first memories of being with my dad and growing up with my dad. But we worked all the time. We were either cutting grass or at the shop working on engines. And that carried on all the way through, junior high school. And so much that, I finally said, man, this racing thing is a serious deal. We were working 7 days a week. My senior year in high school, and my dad had his own engine shop. He was building some engines for Jeff Bodine and Rick Hendrick. And about after 3 months of that, I said, man, I need to go to college. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to make something out of myself. I may go to work for Ford Motor Company or who knows. And I applied to NC State, the engineering department, and got accepted and went off to school. And about that time, shortly thereafter, my dad, Ford Motor Company, called and said, hey, would you come run Harry Ranier's team, Ranier Lundy Racing? And my dad said, let me think about it. And Rick Hendrick called him and said, hey, I want you to come run my engine shop. And the Ford deal was really good. And so he went over, and Kel Yarborough was the driver, and that was Kel's last year in '86. Back then, it was a Hardee's car. They hand painted the numbers and the decals on the car back then. Wow. This thing was beautiful.
The mailbox was painted up too, from what I remember, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Joey Knuckles probably did that.
Because I remember riding by on my bicycle. Right by there all the time.
That was a rough neighborhood for you to be riding on your bike.
It was, but I was, it was what it was.
but then shortly after that, they said, hey, Kel's retiring. Who are we going to get to put in the car? And my dad had such a great respect for Bobby Allison, which was my hero and still is my hero, my favorite driver. My dad and him did lots of great things, including winning the 1983 championship with Dygard on that Miller car and the 82 Daytona 500. And my dad swears the bumper was welded on. He said he wasn't that good of a welder, but he said that It wasn't intentional.
Yeah, that's what got Harold Johnson there, right? Because his bumper fell off. So you showed him it can happen.
We did get Harold Johnson. Yes, we did. And so anyway, they said, who are we going to put in the car? And my dad had been watching Davey growing up and watching him run ARCA cars and built some engines for him. And he said, this is, for me, it's a pretty easy decision. Davey Allison is going to be a superstar. And they said, okay, well, let's put Davey in the car. And man, what a great team. Robert Yates and Davey Allison, that 28 Texaco Haviland Ford was something special.
Mm-hmm, yeah. You were talking about Hamm and Moody, and that's where Tracy's dad worked there in 62, I believe it was, and her grandfather worked there. She mentioned that on there before because he knew Robert as well.
You know, Hamm and Moody was, I think of Roush Yates as kind of a modern day Hamm and Moody. Of course, we don't build the cars and some other things that they did, but in a lot of ways, we power all the Ford cars, and just like John Holman and Ralph Moody did back in that day.
Right. Yep. Buddy Foss says to tell you hello.
Hi, Buddy.
And so I had a questions from, I'm not going to say who it was from because he said not to. All right. So what was the closest? All right, we're back on Racing Roots with Hamm. We got Doug Yates on the other line, actually. So we're doing a replay this evening from. I know it sounds like, and I've been getting a couple of texts and saying that he's in the studio, but I think he was probably in Talladega today. But that was a replay from about a year ago. So Phil's over here working hard, diligently on something. What you got going on over there, Phil?
No, I was just scanning through photos from the weekend at Talladega, the different races, and it was a neat weekend.
Yeah. What did it look like down there?
I wasn't there, but it looked like there was cars going in a big circle, and everybody was having a good time, and the stands were pretty packed. And my buddy Sam said that Chevy was strong, but not as strong as they need to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, that didn't work out too good for them, but Bubba Wallace won, of course, as we mentioned. What were the other drivers they had? What manufacturer were they? The truck and the Xfinity Series. You remember?
I don't know. Give me a few minutes.
And then our friend told us who that was Kenneth.
I think the shout out goes to Tyler Hill. My buddy Tyler Hill in the second place in the truck series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did a heck of a good job.
Yeah, very good, Tyler Hill.
Yeah.
Kenneth Rodiger was telling us that Spencer Gallagher was the other driver he was fighting against. And when I heard that name, I knew it was something different. And that reminded me, there's Dave Ellis from let's see. He plays in one of the bands that's coming here, but he's way down there in South Carolina.
Okay, well, Xfinity, that's Chevy.
Yeah. JD and the Breeze is the band. So, all right then. So that's who's the Chevy, and then who else?
Brandon Brown. He drove a Chevy.
Yeah. So we had 3 first-time winners this week.
Tate Fogelman was in the Camping World Truck Series.
Mm-hmm.
He was driving a Chevy also, so he had Chevy, Ford.
All right, very
Toyota,
good.
I'm sorry. Bubba drives a Toyota,
Yeah, he does.
So that would be the second African-American driver to win in NASCAR history. First one was in 1963. That was a
Daytona. Was there?
No, he didn't win at Daytona.
Sumter is where Dave Ellis is from, and my wife's down there at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, from... Let's see, Tracy, Carla, and Emily Sigmund from Carolina 10 is also down there.
Do you remember where Wendell Scott won in 63?
No, not right off. I do not. So we want to mention our other sponsor, Great RV Life. So if you're wanting to rent an RV, if you're wanting to, let's say you're wanting to buy one, let's say, but you want to test it out and see the experience, because, some people will buy an RV and use it a couple times and they're like, well, I'm not getting my money's worth out of it. I'm going to sell it. You can go to Great RV Life. That's GR8 RV Life. And that way you can test it out, or you can, if you're going to go stay at a racetrack, which the camping prices are not too bad. And some of these music fests you can go and stay at, and you can rent an RV. They'll take it and set it up for you.
Yeah, they had us set up the other day at the festival we were at.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we were down there at the Old Town Revival.
OTR.
OTR, yeah. It's a big car show, motorcycles and all that good stuff. I did a live video, and I'm going to put together some of the video that Phil was taking while he was walking around. Some with the GoPro, which didn't last very long, but
that's right.
Yeah, but the other video camera did pretty good. I think Scott Trevison's tuned in from down in Florida. He said,
What's up, Scott?
yep, he's all in the sea tunes right now, probably at the Coquina Marina.
I can feel the breeze.
Have you ever been to the Coquina Marina? Do you know what the significance of that place is?
It's the France family.
Yeah, there you go.
Backyard.
That's right. It's the France family. So that was used to be the big party place, I guess. I mean, I never partied there, but yeah. Anyway, that was when they were in town. The race was in town. That's where they would go.
I made sure whenever I went down there, I always had my Speedo on.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yeah, after I ate a huge lunch.
Oh, my gosh.
The old tank was sticking.
The old tank. All right.
Caused shadow.
That might be why you never went down there, right? Because of that reason.
Yeah, maybe so.
All right, Tyler.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I got my son Tyler in here. Of course, he's grew up his whole life working, well, not working, but living the NASCAR, or seeing me gone, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Is the big thing.
Probably like my son, they were never really impressed with it.
Yeah.
It was always
I
just
wouldn't
like
say
a part of life.
it's not that it's not impressing. You know,
It's just
an
a
impressive
part of
thing.
your life.
It's just a part of your life. Yeah, when you grow up like that, it's just something that's, you know, other people, they might think it's like an extraordinary thing, but to you, it's just a normal thing.
Right,
You know,
it's
you're
like-
around it your whole life, so it's just, you know, whenever I go to the racetrack, I still try to go about once a year. I think I'm actually going to a race in October, the Xfinity race in October.
Which one?
Coming up this
You're not going to
the one in
Martinsville?
Charlotte. No, the one in Charlotte.
Oh, you mean this October, this
Yeah,
weekend?
this weekend. Yeah, coming up. I forgot. I just remembered I had the tickets. We got free tickets. My buddy sent me a.
Go ahead and set your alarm.
Yeah, my buddy, he sent me a Snapchat thing like a month ago, and he was like, if you fill this out, you get free tickets to the race, or to the Xfinity race. And I was like, all right.
All right, are you sure you got tickets?
Yeah, I got them on my
Sure
phone.
you don't have to work?
Yeah, they're on my phone. I have them. It's on a Saturday late. I think it's like a late Saturday.
He's
race
got
or
to
something
clean
like
up the
that.
grandstands afterwards.
I gotta check it out. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I haven't looked into it, but
right.
it's always the last second.
Why are you putting that ankle bracelet on me?
Yeah. All right, so there we go. We're going to get back to the Doug Yates on Racing Roots with Hamm. I may have to scroll ahead because, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't get to do the full. Well, I did the full editing of the video, but I didn't get to download it and put it in the computer because I didn't have a flash drive big enough. There's Kit Rodriguez down in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm sure her Paul's tuned in somewhere over there. All right, so let's get back to the show. Doug Yates. Yes. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the Racing Roots with Hamm, and I'm super excited today. Probably more excited than I've ever been in the life of my video taking and such. Thanks, Phil. Anyway, we got Phil Cavalli.
One race. That's that was the first one that my dad had graduated college in May of 1990. The guys, they were like, what are we going to do to this college kid? And by then I'd already home blocks and tore down engines and this and that. But they said, all right, you go work on restrictor plate engines. Because back then nobody worked on Daytona and Talladega like a plate engine. They just came out with their restrictor plates a couple years prior. After Bobby Allison got in the fence there at Talladega, when Davey won his first race in 1987, is when they put smaller carburetors on, and then they started slowing them down. So anyway, my project was to work on plate engines, and me and Scooter Brothers from Comp Cams, I was the first guy I called. My dad gave me a business card, said, call this guy.
Yeah.
I called Scooter up, and we started working on camshafts, and we tested and tested and tested, and everybody was looking over there like, what's this kid doing? We sat on the pole for the 1991 Daytona 500. Jake Elder was our crew chief. Suitcase Jake.
Right.
It was awesome. That was my love of Daytona. Started, but later in that year, some of the guys had kind of moved on and left, and I got to build that engine. We won Charlotte with Davey in the fall that year. I was living with Jeff Clark. We went back to his house, and we had a unbelievable party. I felt like my whole high school came, celebrated the win, and they didn't know it was that special to me. They just know we won the race, right?
Yes.
And man, I thought, I've made it. I've won one race. That was the first one that I
cool.
built the whole engine. So it was really cool.
You went to East Mech, right?
I went to East Mech High School here in Charlotte.
Yeah, and I went to Harding on the west side.
Yeah.
But I was about, I guess, 3 years behind you. So when you were living in Wilkesboro, but at some point you moved back to Charlotte, I guess.
Yeah, we lived there for 4 years. And my dad and Junior, they had a great relationship and thought it was going well. And my mom finally said, look, Robert, you can stay here as long as you want. I'm going back to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Because there are no shopping malls here. And,
Right.
and there's nothing up here.
Right,
and
yeah.
I'm going to take my kids. We're going back to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And he said, you can do what you want. And at that point, it really was a decision time for my dad. And my dad said, well, I love Junior. I love the place, but I need to go back. And from there, he came back to Charlotte, went to work for a guy named Parky Nall, and then ultimately went to work for Dygard and built engines for Darrell Waltrip, won a lot of races with him and that team at that time.
My dad says he remembers your dad driving or drag racing down, I guess, Independence Boulevard or somewhere out that way.
That's where you got to start.
He's been telling me that a long time.
He had his 57 Chevrolet, and he would pull the engine up. My dad's dad was parents were preachers, a Baptist preacher in Charlotte. He's the youngest of 9 kids, him and his twin brother Richard.
Yeah.
And they would get the hoist out in the tree and pull the engine out, change the cam, and go drag racing down Independence. And the coolest part about that is Buddy Baker went to high school with my dad. He was a year older, and the cops didn't have radios back then, believe it or not. So they get on Independence, get it 4 wide, back it up, like get traffic all backed up, and take off and start running, and they could outrun the cops because the cops' cars were slow and they didn't have any radios.
That's cool.
And so back then, they did that. So my Uncle Richard was working at the drive-in there. It's called Babe and Loy's. It's like South 21.
Yeah.
Everybody knows South 21 on Independence.
That's right.
And so my dad came back around to the country and parked the car there at Babe and Lloyd's, and Richard was there, and the cops came and arrested Richard.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I wasn't driving. Well, the car's warm. It's your car. Who's your driver's? So they had a lot of fun growing up in Charlotte, so much so that they kicked my dad out of the town. Preacher's kid, 16 tickets when he was 16 years old. And he went to live in Mars Hill with his sister. Best thing ever happened to him. He made straight A's and went on to Wilson Tech and learned how to work on heavy equipment. And that's changed his life.
That's cool. That's where my dad was born, in Wilson. But my dad also told me he remembers Buck Baker driving a bus. He remembers getting on the bus with him. So I don't know. Anyway, that's another story, but I don't know. Do you remember this shirt?
I do.
And why we quit wearing these?
I do. So I was so proud. When we started Roush Yates Racing Engines in 2000, at the end of 2003, we started, my dad and Jack said, we want you to run the company. And we did that shirt. That was our first sweatshirt, first logo.
Yeah.
And my dad basically, to make a long story short, he said, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And guys would even wear them backwards because when they saw them, they didn't want my dad to tell them how bad it was.
Yeah.
And so that's where we started. And today we have this, which is the Perfect Storm.
That's right.
It's really pretty cool story of branding. But this is an R and a Y. So if you look at it close, you'll see the R and the Y for Roush Yates. And the reason why we say it's a perfect storm, because people said there's no way that Jack Roush and Robert Yates will put their engine companies together, much less it lasts. Right. Because they don't like each other. Yeah. And that's oil and water right there. We'll never make it. And we started in 2004. We're still going.
That's right.
That's
going
one
strong.
of our questions. One of our viewers, Chad Hyder, wanted to know is what was the motivation for both of those to join together? What was the motivation?
Yeah, that's my dad and Jack raced so hard against each other. They would rather beat each other than beat Rick Hendrick, which was good and bad. I mean, they wanted to be the number one Ford guy. They wanted Edsel Ford, Bill Ford to pay attention to them, that they won. My dad was so proud that he won the championship in 1999 with Dale Jarrett before Jack Roush won his championship in 2003 with Matt Kenseth. He couldn't stand it. He was more happy about that than almost anything else. Yeah. And but really what was going on was the industry was changing. I mean, the sport was changing. A lot of technology was coming. A lot of technology from F1 and IndyCar was coming to NASCAR. My dad and I had just we moved from Dwell Street up to here into Mooresville into a 75,000 square foot engine shop, which at the time, nobody in the world had an engine shop like that. My dream growing up was to have a world-class engine shop with engineers and lab coats and great dynamometers. And so we built that. And we had a lot of business before that we were doing Travis Carter's engines and a lot of different engines. And some of that stuff went away. And Jack was looking to move down here, and we had the space. Jack was moving, and it was just the timing was just right. Ford Motor Company, Dan Davis at Ford. I don't know if you remember Dan, but and that whole crew, they said, "Hey, Jack and I really need to think about this." But we were at Atlanta back when Atlanta was in the fall. It was the third from the last race. It went Atlanta, Rockingham, Homestead. My dad and I finally said, it's time to talk to Jack. This is 2003. So in between practices on Saturday, we went over and my dad tapped Jack on the shoulder. He said, hey, do you have time to talk to Doug and I about your engines? Pretty much. He almost got that reaction. He says, yeah, meet me in my motorhome. So we go out to Jack's motorhome in between practices, and we sit down, and the tension, you could cut it with a knife. I mean, it was whew, man. One, Jack is he's an awesome guy, but so meticulous, intelligent. You really picked your words and you carefully.
Intimidating.
Yeah, very. And we'd done a project together in 1990. We were working on plate engines. I just graduated college. And we took some engines up to Michigan, and we were going to compare. So we took our engine up there. We ran it on his dyno. He ran his engine. We were swapping parts. And the mission was to go beat Dale Earnhardt because he was winning all the plate races. So we go to Talladega in the fall. We qualified third. Jack's cars qualified way in the back. And we didn't talk much after that for a long time. That was 1990. Fast forward to 2003. So we're sitting there in the motorhome, and my dad said, hey, we just built this world-class engine shop. We heard that you wanted to move your engine operation here to North Carolina. We feel like it's, Ford has agreed they would support us in a bigger way if we did this together. Jack looked at my dad and said, look, I don't like you very much, but I'll do this for one reason. It's because I like Doug, and I think he has a bright future.
There you go.
And that's kind of how it went.
Yeah.
And so that was Atlanta. We go to Rockingham the very next week. And Jack said, all right, you're going to fly home with me. We're going to do our deal. And so we went to Rockingham. Matt Kenseth wins the championship, clinches at Rockingham. I get on a plane Sunday night, just me and Jack. Jack's up front flying. I'm in the back. And we fly to Michigan and together. Obviously, he's the pilot. And we get out, we get in his Mustang, and he's going 120 down the interstate, wet roads, get to the airport, get to the hotel, and he gets ready to drop me off. He said, all right, look, let's get one thing straight. I said, yes, sir. He said, I'm a nail straightener. I said, oh, you met your match because I know exactly what you mean. I came from nothing. I didn't have anything either. I get it. And we won't waste money. I knew exactly what he meant. The very next morning, he picked me up, went to his shop, and it was a really strange thing because they had just won the championship, which is an incredible feat. They're really, really hard to come by. And that day, I had to work with Tom Gant, his head engine builder, which Tom's a great guy, still lives here locally, and to pick out the guys that were going to come down to work at Roush Yates engine shop in Mooresville. And it was really strange because, like I said, those guys had just won, and I had to. Tom and I handpicked 12 guys that came down, moved to our shop, and we started our operation as soon as the season was over. And that winter, we slept on the couches. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
We worked 7 days a week, hard as we could.
Yep.
And everybody said, look, here's the deal. We don't have enough engines. Just let Jack run his engines in his cars and Robert run his engines, and then we'll get started, and then we'll work towards a Roush Yates engine. I said, look, this is not the way it's going to work. We're going to have a Roush Yates engine come day one. So we tested all of Jack's ideas, a lot of Jack's ideas, as many as we could. We tested as many as my dad's ideas as we could. And the proudest moment, and one of the top three proudest moments in my whole career, is going to Daytona for the Daytona 500 qualifying day in 2004. We sat on the front row with Greg Biffle on the pole, Elliott Sadler on the outside pole, and that picture they take with those two cars? My dad and Jack Roush standing there by their cars with the first outing with a Roush Yates Ford engine.
That's in the break room, right?
Yep.
Ain't that the one?
Yep, that's the one picture in the shop that will never come down because that was one moment, and then we went on to win the Cup championship that year with Kurt Busch, the first year of the the playoff system, and it was really a match made in heaven. And my dad is my hero. I mean, I just admire, like you said, he is just a cool guy. Everything he did is class, and Jack is just an incredible engineer, businessman, aviator, racer. And for me to learn from both of those guys and to be able to see and absorb all that, I mean, Jack only has to tell you one or two things, and you just have to listen, and he's guiding you in the right way. And like I said, I spent almost every day of my life with my dad. So I'm really, really fortunate.
Yeah.
I just admire the fact that you were the binding force between them. When Jack said he had faith in you, I just think that's magic. That's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was what. All right, and we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm live in the studio, and that's the replay from a year ago with Doug Yates. But we're going to roll into a break, and we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME and W225BD Statesville.
Mac Molding, the plastic molding metal.
All right, we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, and DHammiam on YouTube. If you'd like to comment, ask questions, go to DHammiam on YouTube and see us here live in the Randy Marion studio. And I saw Jim Dooley was saying, if Emily is at the beach, who else is doing the dish? No, who is doing the dishes? All right, so Emily Sigmund has a book called Just Do the Dishes, so you can find that on Amazon. It's pretty funny. I mean, there's a lot of good common sense stuff in there. So if you want to check it out, go to Amazon and look it up. Just Do the Dishes. And so, Phil Cavalli, were you chatting back and forth here?
There was one question we had here from someone, I think it was Rachel, wanted to know, ask Tyler what it was like to watch your dad on TV growing up and being in the sport, going to the races and stuff. What was that like for you growing up?
Oh, it was always cool, like whenever I'd see like a magazine or there was that one video game with the Motley Hatchet. Is that who was this?
Yeah,
the
NASCAR
Flirting with Disaster.
NASCAR 98.
He was in the intro to that. When you see him on TV every now and then in a pit stop and just like I said, magazines, stuff like that. It's a cool thing, to see that. And one of my favorite things is seeing like the fire suits, and stuff like that, and the old pit shirts. I like seeing I really like retro stuff, so that stuff to me, is probably the coolest thing.
Yeah, now he got into my good hat collection there.
Yeah, and the hats, of course, the hats and all that stuff, the old. He doesn't really have a lot of old shirts, but I really like old NASCAR shirts, and I do have an old Doug Sanders dirt car shirt, and I've come to find out that shirt actually, the decals on it glow in the dark, so all the sponsors go in the dark.
Well, I will tell you, I had a bunch of T-shirts, and they were all racing from back in the day. I heard Ernie Irvin, Jeff Gordon, and I believe that somebody actually put them in a yard sale and got rid of them. You know who I'm talking about.
Anyways, we'd like to thank our sponsors at this time.
He's not talking about me, though.
I've got boxes. Okay.
Nobody.
Okay.
Nobody that's in my life now.
Yeah.
I got you. No, I got boxes of those. They just don't fit me anymore because I bought them all when I was large, not extra large.
Yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So we had another listener tune in. It's J.L. Boone says Davey. Yeah, I love hearing the old Davey Allison stories. And one of the things we had whenever Doug, we had the reunion for Robert Yates over at, let's see, that was at Bobby. Oh my goodness, I'm getting my blank. Bobby Benton.
Okay.
And Robbie Benton's shop over there in Concord, and we had Doug Yates was on the stage, and Robert Yates was up there, and they had Larry Mack, and they were asking him about Davey. They said, "Tell us the story." No, actually, they were talking about Davey for a while, and then he said, "Well, tell us some Doug stories. You know, we've been talking about Davey a lot." And so Robert starts talking about Doug, and then it just leads right into another Davey story. So Doug looked over at him and says, "Like, Dad, what about me?" You know?
Yeah.
But you could tell Robert Yates really loved Davey Allison.
Yeah.
And had, treated him like he was another son. So you think about if Davey would have, not gotten killed in that helicopter accident, how that would have transpired, how many championships he would have won, and how that relationship would have really won a bunch more races. I mean, Robert Yates Racing, they won a lot of races for, just
no matter who was in the car. You had Ernie Irvan winning. I remember like in 94, 95, it seemed like Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, and Ernie Irvan were winning everything.
Yeah. That's right.
And then you put Dale Jarrett in a Yates car, and he was won. Practically anybody.
Yeah.
So,
if you ever listen to the old John Boy and Billy, they were talking about the Yates rocket.
Yeah. But you got to remember, Davey came in as a rookie and was one of the first rookies to win in a long time. It was at Talladega, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
And he won as a rookie. I remember in '88.
Yeah, I remember being there at Charlotte and just him leading every lap. Well, at least in the All-Star race and the Winston back then.
Winston, yeah.
Yeah, the last day race.
And the World 600.
And then the 92 race, yeah.
I still have a T-shirt. This is the World 600.
World 600.
What are you, extra large or large?
I can wear both. It just,
Well, what do you wear in public?
Yeah.
Either one. It just depends. Either one.
A medium, right?
We know you wear the tight wife beater at home.
Nah, I don't like wife beater.
No.
All right, so... we got a little bit more of the video to play. Of course, we got another 25 minutes here, but I'm going to have to probably scroll through a little bit of it to get it all in. Cause like I said, it's an hour and 45 minutes. So if y'all got any questions or comments, y'all can go ahead and throw them here on YouTube, DHammiam, and then we'll get to those here. And, so enjoy this next part. He was talking about, and this next one, I went ahead and looked ahead so I know where to go, but he's talking about when, me as a ninja builder there in the shop, which he really surprised me with this, but it was good that he actually thought about me, considered me, and remembered all of this stuff. So listen to this part. It's really good. Thanks. And enjoy. Yes. All right. And we're live. Welcome to the Racing Roots with...
So, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah. It seems like, I know Biffle, what did he win, 6 races that year?
Yeah.
It was just it was crazy. They were just running really good and kicking butt. And I remember taking apart some of the engines from Roush. So it was kind of like we had to dissect what they had and sort of combine it to some of our stuff. But
so you probably don't remember this because I'm observing and helping. But back then we had about 8 assemblers, David plus 7 other guys, and we would build the engines and line them up, and they were all about 15 horsepower apart. I mean, there's a big spread. Today, they're 1 or 2 horsepower, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? And so we started working on processes and trying to figure out what the best way to do all this was, and we changed the way we built engines where the engine builder you would fit your bearings, you would gap your rings, you roll your pistons, you would do everything, right?
Right, yes.
And so that was creating a lot of differences along with the machining stuff. And so we got the manufacturing part right with the cylinder heads and manifolds. And then we said, all right, what's the best way to fit the bearings? And we just have one person that does that for every engine now. What are the best way to gap the rings? And his engines always made more power. And I'm not saying that because I'm on your show tonight, but the way he gapped his rings was really special. We said, all right, we need to do every engine like David did his. And it was really cool, right? I mean,
yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah, because I remember getting phone calls from David George and some different people. But
all the engineers.
So, he's like, so what are you doing? And I said, maybe we should wait and just have a little meeting about this, sometime. So,
you didn't want to give all your secrets away.
No, because then there was another guy calling me asking me the same thing, and he was working for him. So it was kind of like, all right, I think we should just have a meeting about this, and we did. Yeah. And we had a meeting, and we got some of the stuff figured out. And but I was proud to help out all that I could.
Oh, you did awesome, man.
Thank you.
I mean, incredible.
And
yeah, I got a question from RD Ford. He wanted to know if you did any work on the Cosworth engine, and if that may have led to anything that transferred into the RF9 engine.
Yeah, we didn't work on the Cosworth engines. I mean, that was kind of another famous Ford effort. It was Holman and Moody here in the States, and Cosworth in England, and those guys did a lot of IndyCar engines and F1 engines, and we worked with them on some projects, but we did not collaborate on anything. But Ford had never done a purpose-built race engine. My dad and his team came out with the C3 head, the Yates head in the early 90s.
Yep.
Or 1989, 1990. NASCAR made us give it to everybody. And so it became the official Yates Ford head. And then from there, we raced that head, won tons of races with it. A lot of Ford guys did, not just our teams, but, Rusty Wallace did with Penske, and Alan Quick, won a championship, and the Wood brothers won races with it. And then when we started Roush Yates, we said it's time to upgrade the head, and we raised the roof and did a can of the intake valve, and that was a D3 head. Yeah. But the Chevrolet guys were getting mad about getting beat, so they came out with a new engine. Yeah. And finally, we started working on a development project about 2007, and to design a whole new block cylinder head. And we collaborated with Ford Motor Company, did that project together, and launched that in 2009, and that was the FR9. So Ford Racing 2009, and that engine, we're still racing together with some modifications, of course. Yes. But no, we didn't work that closely with Cosworth, but I have a ton of respect for those guys.
And you're talking about Chevrolet, and I remember whenever we started doing the whole canted valve and thing, and then I had to start cutting piston pockets, and I had to have a different piston vise and all this thing. And I was like, you know what, this is kind of like what Robert Yates, this is like his design right here, and Chevrolet's starting to do the same thing. But I remember working over at Sabco. I was working with Doug Hess back then. It was the machinist, Doug Hess. Yeah. And I remember getting a phone call, and I don't know if Robert told me that it was Robert Yates or what. I think it was, I answered the phone, and he wanted to speak to Doug Hess. So then when he got off the phone, he came in there and said that was Robert Yates.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember hearing his voice, and I was like, wow, that was Robert Yates. Very cool, because like I said, my dad had always said about the drag racing, and I knew all of the guys in racing before I got into racing. Gary Flattery's tuned in, so he said who wouldn't like Doug Yates? That's the thing.
That's cool.
He says I learned so much from Doug and Robert. The best job ever. And my wife says she's helped me get rings before or do rings before. Now, she was helping me, I guess it's been about 3 years ago. I had a little 8-in tractor that I was doing an engine for, and I had it up on the stand, and I had the rod, and I had the cap sitting up on top of the block. So I was like, hey, help me put this piston in or whatever. So she grabs the engine, and there goes the rod cap. Ding, ding, ding.
Whoops.
And I was like, I guess I got to be more specific. I said, that's a very delicate piece there. You don't want to drop that,
Yeah, you got to also be careful how you respond to that too.
Exactly. Yes, you got that right. So she hadn't helped me since. So whatever. That's good. All right, there goes the old cowbell.
More cowbell. That's when we bring in the old, in honor of the beer man, Scott Trevison. Do you have a good, clean Sterling Marlin story you can tell us? I know your dad would have plenty, but
man, Sterling, wow, my dad loved hanging out with Sterling and his wife Paula. They were a lot of fun. I mean, and Cuckoo's son. I mean, I go way back, right? So Cuckoo Marlin was one of those guys back in the day, and I love following the Twitter because you see a lot of those old guys' names and stuff like that. But really, Sterling, I remember going. So when I was a little kid. I wanted to be a race car driver, just like most people in the sport. I mean, you're in this because you love it, right? You're not just in it to make a living or whatever. You're in it because you love it. So my dad bought me a Margay go-kart, 5-horsepower Briggs engine, and he, I said, all right, I'm ready to go race this thing. He's like, well, I don't have time for that. I mean, he's working all the time.
Yep.
And so on the way to Darlington, there was a little go-kart track over there to the right-hand side. It's a trailer park now. And there was a asphalt road course on the front of it, and then a dirt track on the back side of it. Still go-karts, different cars, but still go-karts. So anyway, I told my dad, I want to go. He said, all right, well, I'll drop you off. People won't even believe this. So Friday, they're going to track to qualify. He just drops me off with a can of gas and my go-kart, leaves me there all day. No phones, no nothing, right? I'm running around all day long. And so those guys came back from the racetrack, crew chiefs, drivers, all that, and they're like, well, we want to race. We want to race. And so some of the guys got in and drove. Phil Parsons and Ken Reagan. Ken Reagan is a great go-kart racer.
David's dad.
Yep, right. David's dad. And so after that, we went to the dirt track behind it. And it's all right, we're going to line up and have they had go-karts for all the drivers and stuff. And Sterling and Tony Glover and Ken Reagan, all those guys were driving and racing. And I just thought it was so cool. I'd get to race against guys like Sterling Marlin. And, I remember they lapped me, but Ken lapped me. And after he lapped me, I fell in. I drove pretty good after that. But I was 13 years old riding around with those guys. So that was that's a really good clean Sterling story. Because I'm sure a lot of stories with Sterling have something to do with Coors Light.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That's what ones we usually get. People are like, well, I can't tell that one. Okay, well, I can't tell that one. I can't tell that one. It's amazing that when you get on that dirt cars or the go-kart tracks and you think you're going fast, but then these guys will just lap you, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So, all right, so if people, we're talking about Twitter, and you have your own Twitter. So if people want to follow you on there, if they don't know about yours, tell them how they can contact you on there.
Yeah, it's at Yates_Doug. And please follow along. One of the coolest things about Twitter, I'm pulling it up here just to make sure I'm giving you the right info and all. One of the coolest things about Twitter is after we win a race, and this is something that's really turned out well. Yeah, it's at Yates_Doug. And after we win a race, we give away the valve cover off the race winning engine. Like the actual valve cover. The driver, the winner, will sign it. I sign it, send it to you, and it's really turned into one of the coolest things. And a piece, Phil, we were talking about memorabilia earlier, right? All the cool things that you have from back in the day. Could you imagine getting a winning valve cover off of Kevin Harvick's 50th career win at Darlington? And our fans love it, and the people that follow us, and I say fans, but just the people that we hang out with and are pull for Ford and pull for Roush Yates and us. And that's something that's turned out to be really, really good and a fun thing that we do.
Especially when you have brand loyalty like that. That's a huge thing for a race fan.
Yeah, it's awesome. And, during the pandemic when we couldn't race, the Ford guys said, hey, we need to do something. I mean, okay, we're not racing, but we have all these ambassadors. We have the drivers, we have owners, we have engine builder, we have all this stuff, and let's do some fun things. So there was like 8 weeks of videos we had to produce. Some of them were just like social distancing, and then some of them were, what are you doing with your time? And so we went over, my dad had this motorhome lot with all of his, he had a win picture from every win that he was involved with, and he had most of the trophies there. And I had my motorhome parked there in a car and stuff. So we did a little skit, just hanging out here, by the motorhome, looking at the trophies. And then Jack Roush gave me a car. After my dad passed away in October of 2017, Jack wanted to do something to honor him. So he ran a Robert Yates tribute car at Phoenix with Stenhouse. So it was a 17 car, but it had the Texaco Havoline star on it and Yates on the back and a picture of my dad. And Jack gave me that car. He called me after the race, said, do you want a new car or do you want that car? I said, I want that car. And so it's the only car that I have. So I pulled that car out, took it outside, revved it up, and man, the engine sounded awesome. But just fun things on Twitter. I mean, it's a great way to follow people. I don't do Facebook. My wife said there's too many old girlfriends, although I didn't have that many. But anyway, I do.
Oh, good. He just sent me a text and said, "Don't forget."
Introduced into the Hall of Fame. Mike Helton got it.
Oh, good. He just sent me a text and said, "Don't forget the hat. I can see it."
Yep.
The man sitting with you, LOL.
We got you covered.
He's been checking on me it's been ever since I left. Like he had sent it to me right after, and I was like, "Well, I don't work there anymore, but I'm gonna try to get down there soon And it was a year and a half.
I had to come up here.
That's right. Yeah. I said, well, I did see him one time, but he was behind me in his pickup. I stopped by the shop to see you, but everybody was just like, it was one of those deals, like you said, y'all had to turn around and go back out, and everybody was so busy. I just didn't even bother. I did want to ask one thing about.
Wait a minute, you don't want to bother? You don't want to come in and get put to work?
Well, I mean, I'm always willing to do some work, but well, first thing that Brian Duke come out and check my temperature.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
And so I was like, all right, this is. I get that and all, but I was like, I don't have a mask, and I know I don't want to do any of that, so I just left.
All right, we got him taken care of.
I said I'll come back some other time, but I remember going to the reunion for Robert Yates over there in Bobby Benton's shop there, and whenever he started, all right, so somebody asked Doug, your dad to tell a story about Doug, because all he kept talking about was Davey and Davey this, Davey that. And I thought it was one of the funniest things ever was whenever he started talking about you, but then he just started right back on to Davey. It was like, and you're like, Dad, what about me?
I tell you, he was Bobby and Robbie Benton have been great friends to our family. I mean, they're such awesome people. I mean, Bobby was our gas man back on Dwell Street there with the early days. I'm sure we didn't pay him anything, and then along comes Robbie to help him. And, it's a pickup crew. I mean, we drove to every track. We would drive to Michigan. We'd drive to Pocono. We'd drive to Watkins Glen. I mean, we'd fly to Sears Point. But, I mean, we did so many things together, that group of people with Danny Dickerson, Bobby Benton, Daryl Ferguson, Jeff Clark, Brian Clark. I mean, all those guys, we're like brothers. You know, we just spent time together. We go to Daytona Beach, not even have a hotel room, and Norman Kushmishu would put us up in his glorious sister's house upstairs, and there are like 6 of us in this, just wherever you could pull out a blanket or whatever, and you're sleeping and you're getting it. But they are so good to us. But when my dad got sick and kind of knew that the end was near, he'd just been nominated, or just been introduced into the Hall of Fame. Mike Helton got up and called his name out there, the Hall of Fame. Bobby and Robbie said, I want to do something special, and we'll have a Robert Yates Racing reunion at our shop. And so I went by and picked him up, and man, he was excited about going, but he was really sick.
Sure. Yeah.
And we got up there, and man, that place was just packed, and all kinds of people in there, and Vernon Hubbard.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even name them all. It was just all these people that had been part of that family, and that what we were doing for so long and supported us, and got up on stage. Larry McReynolds was emceeing it. He had a desk up there, and Danielle was up there helping, and I got a bunch of people up there talking, but got pictures with everybody, and said, Dad, are you, at the end? I said, you ready to go? He said, I don't want to go, but I don't feel good. And he went out. I mean, we didn't leave till 11:30 or something that night.
Yeah, I was one of the last ones there too.
But it was such a special time. I mean, like I said, racing was so different back there in some ways, and the reason why is it was never a business. It was just we were racing to win the next race.
Right.
We didn't even have time clocks on the wall. We took the clocks off the wall because we didn't leave until we felt like we were ready to go win.
Yeah, and you couldn't back into your spot.
Yeah, we didn't. No. I mean, my dad had a saying. It's like, look, if you get a speeding ticket on the way to work, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
You get one on the way home, you're on your own.
Yeah.
But it was such a special deal because it was all about the next race. It was all about winning the next race, taking care of your teammate. My dad drove the truck, jacked the car, built the engine, built the car. And when Larry McReynolds came on board, man, it was game on.
Sure.
I mean, we went from fast to consistently fast and won 5 races in 91, 5 in 92.
Yeah.
Including the Daytona 500, and coulda, shoulda, woulda won the championship in 92. But
right, yeah.
That was really where it put us on the map. And then when Todd Parrott and Dale Jarrett joined forces in 1996, and it was magic. I mean, we won the Daytona 500, Coca-Cola 600, Brickyard 400.
Oh, yeah.
And we're building a championship team. And Todd was really special like that. I mean, Todd came up just like I did. His dad, Buddy Parrott, and my dad, Buddy was a crew chief, and my dad was the engine builder.
Yeah.
And when Todd and I got together, we took that to the next level, including with my dad.
All right, so there's Doug Yates on Racing Roots with Hamm about a year ago when he was on here. And so the show went on for an hour and 45 minutes. So if y'all want to see the rest of that show, you can actually go back. I'll put the link on my video here on the feed, and I'll put it in after this video ends. You can click that link, or you can just go to DHammiam on YouTube and punch in DHammiam, Doug Yates, and it'll take you right to that video. And you can watch the whole thing. It's an hour 45 minutes, as I mentioned. So we're going to have to run a little bit short on time. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about racing and answer just a couple of questions here. We had J.L. Boone says, he's talking about when the shop was outside of Charlotte. I put my little thing for Davey on the wall. I think I was 10. Okay. Yeah. So that shop was right there on Dwell Street off of 16, kind of in that area, which is right down the street from where my elementary school was when I was.
But it's a rough area.
It is.
It
yes.
is. And that Yates shop was all by itself as far as, they say Mooresville is Race City, and you had the majority of shops in here and some in Winston-Salem area, and then level cross for Petty's. But boy, he was it was like Alcatraz down there. Yeah,
I know. I played high school football against West Charlotte right there.
Yeah.
And we had gunshots going off. I had to hit the field one night.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a long time ago.
Wasn't there like rolled barb?
Yeah, I believe there was.
Around the whole Yates compound?
Yeah, there was. It had to be. That's the way my old elementary school is now. It's like bar, but it's a correctional institute of some sort. Yeah, so there he goes. And he also says, I lived across the street, went from Rick Mass' shop, or he lived across the street is what he means, when I was a kid. And yeah, they weren't great, but not for not trying. Yeah, they were.
What was that, Jackson's? Leo and
I was thinking
Richard
that would
Jackson?
Well, he seems a bit younger, so I'm thinking it was probably, well, I don't know though. I was thinking that might have been, it wasn't whenever Rick Mass had a shop later on, was it down there? GL?
I don't know if Rick
something?
had his own. I wouldn't know. I know when he drove for the Jackson brothers.
Right. Yep.
What was that racing team called?
GL, or was it GW or WG? Are you talking about Leo Jackson?
Yeah, Leo and Richard Jackson.
Right. Yeah.
What was that team called?
I thought that was it, Leo Jackson's.
No.
Skull Bandits.
Harry drove for him, and Rick Mass drove for him for the Brickyard. But I mean, it was
that one. It was in Denver. So
there was a team name though.
Yeah, what's the team name on that one?
Anybody?
Yep. Tyler, do you know?
No, I have no idea.
I don't recall.
I was actually thinking Skull Bandit when you said something about Skull. I was thinking it sounded like their car or something.
Yeah, so there was, Scott Glasscox. He's going to come in here probably in another couple of weeks. And
but I want to know now.
You want to know now, yes. Mr. Impatient, sir. He says Bandit, but I think it was, that was not, it was something else. I thought it was Leo Jackson.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night going, blah, blah.
I do have a question for you, Dad, though. Whenever you would say starting off in NASCAR, I do vividly remember Sabco, but just the shop going from what it looked like as Sabco all the way to Roush Yates with how big, Roush Yates is. Sabco is big, but Roush Yates just seems like a big, just what's the difference you noticed from going from the start to the end of, NASCAR? That's
a good question, because when I first started there at Sabco down in Charlotte, it was off of, I believe, Orr Road and 49. And the shop, you walk in there, the floors were brown. So it wasn't like, later on at Roush Yates where people would walk in and say, you could eat off these floors. And I'd say, well, I never tried that, but hey, I probably could. They were all white, right? And they were the epoxy floor coating, but the floors were brown. Everything just had that dirty look back in the day. I mean, it's like there wasn't as much money in it back then. They were still building. You still had maybe 15 crew members, and that was like the track guys, the guys that work in the shop. And that's why you always worked, like I would say, 8 days a week. Because it's like you didn't just do one thing, you did many different things. But then later on, as you evolved into more money coming in, then it was like you were trying to attract bigger sponsors and that type of thing, so they would make the shops look really nice.
Yeah, Roush Yates is a nice place. It's spotless. They do a good job.
Yeah,
all the tools, everything, clean. That's a very clean place.
Yeah. Another thing about Robert Yates, he would have as you walk down the hallway, you would see the glass rooms. And you could see all the way through the building, and everything was exactly pretty much the same. Even down to our toolboxes we didn't bring our own tools in because we wanted everything to be the same color. They were like the Ford blue kind of toolboxes from Mac, which was, one of our sponsors we got a discount from.
Yep.
just that way.
So that was Precision Products Racing, Leo Jackson, PPR. I know that was called. I don't recall it, but that's what the name was.
Okay.
Because Richard passed away about 11 years ago.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, so I didn't remember that.
So the Roval this weekend.
Yep.
The Truck Series is off. The Xfinity Series is going to be coming on Saturday, I think around 2 o'clock. Let's see, 3 o'clock is the Xfinity's Cure for 250K.
Mm-hmm.
Presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Sorry I had to drop you.
Yeah.
Then Sunday, 2 o'clock, Bank of America, Roval, 400. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be the cutoff race. Looking at the cutoff points, anybody want to give their input on who they think is going to make it up? Right now, below the line is Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Alex Bowman.
Who's the next person below? Isn't there?
Kyle Busch is barely on.
Kurt,
He's 32 points to the good.
Kurt Busch.
Kurt was gone. He's out. That was last week.
All right, how's my specs looking? Remember I sent them to you? I sent you the picture of this screenshot.
Oh, I don't.
You don't have it.
I left it posted right there.
I know you did. Yeah, but I took a picture of it and sent it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it somewhere.
Yeah, you'll find
we'll
it
see it
eventually.
in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rachel did have a question, but first, before I forget, I want to mention we have down here at the Civic Center in Statesville, we have a benefit or in memory of Cindy Atkins, who passed away, our great dear friend, sweetheart, that passed away from cancer. She had fought it, and then it was remission for like 14 years, and she got it again. But her husband, she owned Proto, and her husband, Brent Atkins. We're going to have a big benefit for her this Sunday right down here at the Civic Center from 1 to 4. So people are welcome to come if you knew Cindy and just come and celebrate her life. And Brent's been having a pretty tough time, but he's talked to him today, and he's in good spirits. He's really looking forward to this. He wants me to come and do some live video and broadcast straight.
It's supposed to be beautiful weather, they say. It's going to rain from here on through till Saturday, and Sunday's supposed to be sunny and 76.
Oh, well, good deal. Sounds good. All right, so and you can send me a message on Facebook if you want to know more about that, or Twitter or Instagram, any of that stuff. You can find me at DHammiam. All right, she asked, David, tell us about the NASCAR drivers coming by the Yates race shop for visits. Yeah, so Brad and Joey, as you mentioned on here, they come by. I know I have a video on my YouTube channel right here of Brad. It's only like 15 seconds long, but it's Brad in his A-Team van, which is A-Team, like B.A. Baracus and all these other guys. And anyway, he has a train horn on that thing, so it's like super loud. And he just had his dog sitting in his lap. And
and he came funny. And he brought everybody beer that time, right? He gave everybody a case of Miller Lite. Yeah,
brought in the big truck.
Yep.
And
he signed it. He signed every case.
I remember in the old days that when you would win the pole on Friday for the race, you would get a case of beer.
Yeah.
And it was
Bud Light. Was it the Bud pole or something? Budweiser pole or Bud Light pole or something.
Yep. And I remember that was more coveted than the check that came with it.
Oh, yeah.
The joke, whoever got the pole. Because that was the end of the day Friday. You'd take that case and go drink it.
Yes.
But Beer Man will tell you it's all about the cores. That's what Beer Man will tell you. It's all about the cores light.
I'm sure he was trying to pedal it on the side, cut off that
It's all about the cores light. That's what he'll tell you.
Stop the bud.
Yeah, so the other drivers that would come in, Joey come in probably more than any of them, and Brad come in quite a bit. And like you said, he would bring beer. And then if you go, Harvick, I never saw him come in at all. Or I never saw Boyer come in, but
you said there was a driver who used to talk to you about the cars and stuff, right? One of them you said was really smart about the car. Who was that? You said that was.
There was several of them. Was it? Well, Brad was pretty smart, but he was more. He would ask me a lot of questions on the engine side of it. Now he's doing his own manufacturing and stuff, so he's a very intelligent driver. David Reagan might be the one because he was. I would go over to work on their cars, and then he would be there a lot of times, and so. Yeah, there was a lot of you could tell the ones that were, I guess, really interesting. I mean, here's the deal. If I were a driver, I would want to know. I'd want to know everything, even the guys that work on my stuff and, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So I'd be walking around and checking them out. Hey, how y'all doing? Anyway, but back in the day, Matt Kenseth will come in, Greg Biffle sometimes, and Matt Kenseth, I talked to him quite a bit.
Carl Edwards, you said you got to meet a couple
Carl
times.
Edwards. Yeah, if you look at
Carl was the nicest guy.
If you look at the ones that gave us Christmas presents, let's go with that. Carl Edwards was the one every year.
No further questions.
Yep. And
that doesn't surprise me at all. He's just never changed from the moment he entered the garage till he left. He was just always humble.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were on the other side of the garage and he caught you with, most drivers would just see you and just look away. But Carl would, wave. Real nice guy.
Yeah, for sure. When I was his first engine builder in the Cup Series, and he gave me his phone number and said, "Hey, let's go to lunch sometime," and then I just ended up calling him, a couple times after.
Go ahead.
When he
We're
won
still
races.
on the air. Call him right now and say.
But
call him right now.
I bet it's changed.
Get that pizza going. Get that $3.20 on delivery. Go.
$3,
Where's our pizza? Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm sure I got lots more stories will come to my head about the drivers visiting, but we usually would have big fish fries down at Robert Yates Racing and Doug Yates. That was their big thing. Every birthday we'd have a fish fry.
And Greg Biffle,
anybody whose birthday was there? Or
Greg Biffle, he came. You talking about the Halloween thing or what?
Hold on, it was for Doug Yates' birthday or Robert Yates' birthday. Yeah.
Was that the thing on the farm you talking about every year? Or that's something different?
That was a fall festival.
The fall festival, I met Greg Biffle there one year. They always had a fall festival for Roush Yates, and you go out there and you eat. I thought it was fish that they had, but that was a good time too.
Well, and believe it or not, it was, let's see, Jack Roush and Robert Yates' birthdays were the same day. So they would have the big fish fry for them two. And then every time, this is the couple years that Roush was running, we were winning races like every weekend. And Jack Roush would have Italian brought in. So we would have those big old shells with the meat.
Brought it from Ciro's.
My favorite was Chick-fil-A.
He got it from Ciro's because he was really
Okay.
He was really buddies with the owner of Ciro's over there in Concord.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was Ciro's.
Oh, God.
And then he would get cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory. All those cheesecakes, they were like 500 calories per slice. Tyler, what were you saying?
Oh, I just said the Chick-fil-A. That was my favorite. Whenever they bring in the Chick-fil-A, if you win a race and you get the Chick-fil-A.
Yep. Every week we would get biscuits. So, in other words, I was starting to put on some serious weight. Yeah, I did too. I mean, whenever we were getting all that food, because we would have cheesecake left over, and of course that would be breakfast the next morning, or snack in the evening. Sometimes I'd have both because we had plenty. Yeah. All right. So Jim Dilly says, here's one for Cindy. Yep. And her blessed soul. Yeah. That's what I was talking to Brent about that today. So yeah, things are good. We know she's in a better place, and someday we'll hopefully see her again, but she knows everything right now, a lot more than we know. So, well, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And Phil, you got any parting words and plans for the rest of the week?
No, just keep our fingers crossed so we can get in some racing this weekend. Saturday probably be all right. And Sunday looks good, so it's going to be exciting. Come on down to the Roval in Charlotte.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to go, but I ended up now. I'm going to go to that on Sunday, so I'm going to be broadcasting live, probably doing my Facebook Live on my page and probably some other stuff, Twitter and there. So J.L. Boone says, and next interview is Hamm with Phil. So I don't know if he means both ways together or what, but we kind of we've done it a couple times where I put one video together when I was down in Key West, and it had you showing your pictures, and I did zoom ins on your pictures and stuff. So, and then the other one was the original interview. So if you want to see that, I'll put that on. And after this video's over, you can go back on here and see the link to that, or you can just go to my channel, DHammiam, and look up Phil Cavalli, and that'll show you there. There's the thumbnail is with Tony Stewart, who's going to shave Phil, or not going to. He just shaved Phil's face. So that's the thumbnail for that. So it's pretty good, and it's a great interview and great pictures as well. Tyler,
I got a couple of buddies. I bugged Sam Sharp and Brian Chobat, a couple of guys to say, hey, pull 30, 40 pictures together and bring them in and talk about them.
Yeah, and I can and whatever, I can scan them, put them in here, whatever. Tyler, you got any parting words? How people can reach you, ask you questions?
Yeah. If anybody ever wants to reach me, I have.
I'd like to thank our sponsors tonight.
I have Instagram. You can, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just my name, Tyler Hamm. I'm on Facebook as well. I try not to get on social media that much, but I will respond if somebody sends me a message or if you have any other questions or anything like that.
You got a girlfriend, Tyler?
Not right now. No,
There
I don't
you
have
go,
a girlfriend.
ladies.
I'm kind of picky though, so if y'all have anybody you want to send my way, I'm
Ham
picky.
man,
Yeah.
Major Ham man, get on the ham bone.
Yeah,
He is a ham, I guess. Huh?
He's a good man.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thanks, Paul. It's a great show, and Doug is a smart. He is a living legend. That's for sure.
Sure is.
Yeah. Yep. And all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next Monday. I don't know who my guest is going to be, our guest yet, but we're going to find someone, and we'll get them in here and have a great show.
Donald Trump will be here next Monday night.
There you go. Good idea. All right, y'all have a good night. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
from the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their
racing roots.
Sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Could you get excited about $1?
$1 makes me holler, honey boo boo.
Well, perhaps not that excited, but you can be excited about riding iCats for $1. That's right, you could ride iCats anywhere in Iredell County for only $1.